It's been called the most hated place on Earth. This stretch of land, just over 20 miles wide, has seen some of the most committed acts of war and resistance in recent history. Today, it's the front line of a bitter territorial dispute between two people. Both claim it as their historical and biblical homeland. And it all boils down to one tiny sliver of a nation, Israel, smaller than New Jersey and home to about 9 million people. But how did we get here? What happened before there was an Israel? What started the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians? Hi, I'm your host, and you're watching this channel. Get ready to explore the untold stories that have shaped our world from ancient empires to modern-day conflicts. Join us as we unpack the myths, motivations, and machinations that have led to today's headlines. You won't get these insights anywhere else. So subscribe now and get ready to dive into the stories that really matter. Thousands of years ago, around the 17th century BC, three of the most important figures of the Jewish faith, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, are believed to have settled in the region of Canaan. The area included parts of today's Israel, West Bank, Gaza, Lebanon, and Jordan. According to the Bible, Abraham was promised this land and his descendants would possess it forever. The Israelites began to flourish, and by 1000 BCE, King Saul founded the Kingdom of Israel, and David, his successor, made Jerusalem its capital. King Solomon built the first temple in Jerusalem, which became the holiest site in Judaism. But after Solomon's death, the kingdom split into two, and soon the land is being fought over by outside powers like the Assyrians and Babylonians, and eventually the Romans. The Romans renamed the region Palestina to erase Jewish ties to the land. In the 7th century CE, Muslim armies conquered the area, and Islam spread quickly. Two of the most important sites in Islam, the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque, are located in Jerusalem, making it a holy city for Muslims worldwide. Throughout the Middle Ages, the region changed hands many times. It was ruled by Muslim dynasties, the Crusaders, and then back to Muslim control. In the 1500s, the Ottoman Empire seized the region and ruled it until the early 20th century. Meanwhile, a movement known as Zionism gained momentum among European Jews who wanted to return to their ancestral homeland. Zionist leaders began purchasing land in Palestine, which was still under Ottoman rule, and encouraged other Jews to do the same. The hope was that with enough Jewish people living in Palestine, they could create their own state. After World War I, the Ottoman Empire fell apart. Britain gained control of Palestine and became its colonial ruler through the British Mandate for Palestine. More Jews started to arrive in Palestine, fleeing anti-Semitism in Europe. Tensions increased between the growing Jewish population and the native Arab population. Both groups wanted the same piece of land, and each side felt entitled to it. The British struggled to keep the peace, and things began to spiral out of control. In 1936, Arab protests against British rule erupted into violence. The British responded with force. But as World War II approached, it became clear that Britain couldn't hold on to Palestine much longer. As the Holocaust unfolded, more Jews fled to Palestine. By 1947, there were nearly 600,000 Jews and 1.2 million Arabs living there. That year, the British asked the United Nations to help them deal with the situation in Palestine. On November 29, 1947, the UN proposed a partition plan to would divide Palestine into two separate states, one Jewish and one Arab, with Jerusalem under international control. Jewish leaders accepted the plan, but Arab leaders rejected it. They didn't want a Jewish state anywhere in their region. As the British prepared to leave, violence escalated between Jews and Arabs. In May 1948, David Ben-Gurion, the leader of the Jewish state, announced the establishment of the State of Israel. The very next day, on May 15, 1948, Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Syria attacked Israel. The Arab world thought that the new Jewish state would fall quickly, but Israel survived. By October 1948, Israel had even expanded its territory beyond the boundaries set by the UN. Over 750,000 Palestinians were expelled or fled their homes during the war. This event is known as the Nakba, or catastrophe, and is considered a pivotal moment in Palestinian history. Although the war officially ended with an armistice, it wasn't a real peace. Fighting continued intermittently, and Israel kept more land than it was originally allocated. It seemed as if both sides were determined to keep fighting rather than live side by side peacefully. The next 2 decades brought relative calm to the region, but it was shattered in June 1967 when the Six-Day War erupted. Israel went to war with Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. In just 6 days, Israel captured the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, Gaza, Golan Heights, and Sinai Peninsula. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians now lived under Israeli military occupation. The world criticized Israel for occupying Palestinian land. Many countries demanded that Israel withdraw from the territories it had seized, but Israel refused. By 1987, tensions boiled over, and the first Intifada, or uprising, erupted. Palestinians protested against Israeli occupation, and hundreds died. The world noticed the brutality of the Israeli occupation, and Israel realized it couldn't continue as before. It needed to make some changes. A series of peace talks took place throughout the 1990s, and in 1993, the Oslo Accords were signed. The agreements gave Palestinians limited self-rule in parts of the West Bank and Gaza, and promised them full independence within 5 years. For a brief moment, it seemed as if peace might actually be possible. However, negotiations stalled, and the Second Intifada, or uprising, began in 2000. Palestinians used violent means to resist the Israeli occupation. Suicide bombings and shootings carried out by Palestinians killed hundreds of Israelis, and Israeli reprisals against Palestinians were brutal. The Second Intifada was crushed by 2006, but in the meantime, a Palestinian militant group called Hamas had risen to prominence. Hamas, which stands for Islamic Resistance Movement, was founded in 1987 during the First Intifada. Its goal was to end the Israeli occupation of Palestinian territory and establish an independent state of Palestine. Hamas was designated a terrorist organization by the United States, the European Union, and Israel. However, Hamas was elected in Palestinian elections in 2006 and gained control of Gaza. Israel responded by imposing a blockade on Gaza, making it extremely difficult for people to enter or leave. Since then, Gaza has been ruled by Hamas, and Israel has launched several military operations against it. These include Operation Cast led in 2008, 2009, Pillar of Defense in 2012, and Protective Edge in 2014. Each operation resulted in the deaths of hundreds of Palestinian civilians. In 2018, the United States moved its embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, angering Palestinians who view East Jerusalem as the capital of a future Palestinian state. In 2021, clashes between Palestinians and Israeli police in Jerusalem led to a rocket attack from Gaza and Israeli airstrikes on Gaza. Ceasefires have been put in place, but no lasting peace agreement has been reached. Israel continues to occupy Palestinian territory. Millions of Palestinians live under Israeli military rule, and the occupation has resulted in widespread poverty and misery. Israel has also built Jewish-only settlements in the West Bank, which are illegal under international law. So what's next? Will there ever be a peaceful solution to the Israeli occupation? Will the fighting continue indefinitely? It's hard to say. The current situation is unsustainable, and the status quo cannot continue. Neither side seems willing to compromise. For many, the Israeli occupation is not just a territorial dispute. It's a war over identity, history, and the future of the region. It's unclear what the ultimate outcome will be, but one thing is certain: the world is watching. What are your thoughts on the Israeli occupation? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful videos on global conflicts. Thanks for watching. See you next time.